I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.
What's going on, everybody? Man, Eric Wilson in for the Sports Arena. Yes, happy holidays to everybody. I mean, Christmas is only 9 days away. Hope everybody is doing well and staying blessed. But as always, a lot to talk about here tonight on a Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for everybody being a part of the fam. As I said earlier today, I need to start off the show by officially making an apology to one man, because the narrative all last week has been that there was an issue, there was a problem that was existing in the Eagles locker room, specifically between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And y'all know I am, as I always say, one of the biggest Eagle fans out there. So I allowed the outside noise to cloud my judgment. And for a moment, well, more than a moment, shall we say, I really felt like there might have been an issue. I was wrong. Clearly, I was mistaken. And so I am asking for Jalen Hurts to please accept my apology because, my brother, I should have known better than to think that a man, a team, an organization who is on a mission to do something will not allow outside noise to interfere with in-house activities. Clearly, as I said, I was wrong. But as they say, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Let's look at what happened yesterday between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers. First off, speaking of A.J. Brown, 8 for 110 and a touchdown. Well, let's focus on the other side with Devontae Smith, 11 for 109 and a touchdown. How anyone could think, myself included, that there was a problem with Jalen finding two of the top receivers in this league, specifically on the same team, was ridiculous and is ridiculous. And I'm so glad that Jalen came out and started his press conference by simply saying, so that's what y'all wanted to see, huh? I mean, 25 of 32, 290 yards, averaging 11.6. And like I said, the 2 touchdowns. Jalen was truly doing this throughout the whole entire game on Sunday. This was the song that was in his head. That was exactly what Jalen was doing. He was staying true to himself in his lane, minding his own damn business, and saying, our goal is not just to be a run-heavy team. Our goal is not just to be a pass-happy team. Our goal is not to be one of the top defenses in the entire NFL. No, it is a combination of everything. And that is why the Philadelphia Eagles right now have an opportunity to obtain home field advantage. Something that, in my opinion, is needed. But you know what? Let's talk about the defense. Because there's a man out there who plays for Philadelphia. And let me just read to you what I found, okay? This young man is one of 9 cornerbacks to have played 500-plus coverage snaps this season. 60 yards after carry, which is first in the NFL. 340 yards, which is also first in the NFL. 31 receptions, which is tied for first in the NFL. Oh, but here's the one that I want everybody to pay attention to. This young man has allowed 0 touchdowns. First in the NFL. That is Quinyon Mitchell. That young man definitely needs to remain in y'all's vocabulary and not in a negative way. And it is high praise when a potential Hall of Famer speaks out about how great the Eagles defense is. That being one, Mr. J.J. Watt. This is what he posted on X. He said, Eagles defense has not gotten anywhere near the credit it deserves so far this year. First in the NFL in yards per game, second in the NFL in points per game. Oh, and by the way, yesterday held the Pittsburgh Steelers to 2 total yards in the first quarter. Not to mention, the Steelers didn't put up any points after the first half. Now, y'all know me. I got mad love for Mike Tomlin and that team. But when it is time for a defense to show you what they are about, I challenge anyone to argue what the Philadelphia Eagles defense has done this year and are continuing to do with 3 games left in the regular season. We go into division play, and it starts with Washington, and then we have Dallas, and then we have New York. So, yes, the odds are in Philadelphia's favor to finish out the season 15-2. Does not guarantee the number 1 spot. With us beating Washington coming up this Sunday, we can sew up the division. And right now, we have a playoff spot. But as I've said to people, it's not about the bye week. That is an added bonus to being the number 1 seed because, as we know, only one team in each conference gets that bye week. And right now, Detroit holds that position. It's about the energy that exists in the city of Philadelphia, more importantly, at the Link in January. There is a different aura when you come to the 215 in January for a home football playoff game. The Link rocks, figuratively and literally. There is just something different about being there. And as we have seen, when we are at home in January, it's a whole different ball of wax. Because what Philadelphia does is they let everybody know what time it is. That is why I say it is imperative that somehow, some way, not only does Philadelphia do what they need to do, but more importantly, find a way to get that number 1 seed. Because as I've told everybody, it is one game at a time. I have Eagle fans all over texting me, calling me, coming up to me. You know we're going to New Orleans. No. It's one game at a time. I'm not putting the cart before the horse. But what I will tell you is this. Should Philadelphia be successful in obtaining the number 1 spot, and all roads lead through Lincoln Financial, it's going to be hard-pressed for me not to get a little bit excited about the possibility of Philadelphia going to New Orleans this year for the Super Bowl. I'll be back in just a moment.
Connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Tracer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Tracer.
Wanted this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra.
Welcome back into the Sports Arena. Man, Eric Wilson, yes, on a Monday night. So, after the 425 games yesterday, I asked a question on my Facebook page because I was curious what I would get from a response after seeing what went down between the Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills. And my simple question was this: did we get a glimpse of Super Bowl 59? Now, some responses were yes, some responses were no. One, of course, was, yeah, it wasn't Buffalo or Detroit. It was Philly-Pittsburgh. I was like, okay, I appreciate that, but let's look at what went down between the two teams. For Buffalo, listen, Josh Allen, as much as I would love for it to be somebody from Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley, for the MVP conversation, let's be real. Josh Allen truly has turned up this season. I mean, it has just been one game after another, and it doesn't matter whether he's in Kansas City or he's home in Buffalo or he is in Ford Field. Josh Allen continually finds a way to get the job done. And it's not even about having his number called. He just ultimately makes the decision about what he's going to do. Yesterday, no different. 23 for 34, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns. And people got involved. There was questions, of course, if Josh was going to be able to have a wide receiver the caliber of Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen doesn't really care who his wide receiver is. He just cares if his wide receiver gets open. He's going to find him the ball. We were always talking about the run game because you had Devin Singletary. Now you got Cook in there. The defense, we know, will stand up when needed to. And they did that yesterday. But let's talk about what everybody wants to focus on. And that is the onside kick that did not go the way of the Detroit Lions. Some call it questionable. Some say that's just Dan Campbell doing Dan Campbell things. So let's not put so much on that. And let's look and see what Buffalo did. I mean, when we look at this and we look at what this team accomplished, scored every single quarter. You come out the gate and put up 14 on Detroit, in Detroit. This is not the Detroit Lions of 7 or 10 years ago, where you could just go into Ford Field and have your way. No. This is not that team. They're going to punch you in the mouth. They're going to fight you tooth and nail from beginning to end. And we saw that yesterday with the Lions because they rallied back in the second quarter, put up 14 of their own, and made it a one-possession game going into the half. The second half was a game that we anticipated, a game that we wanted to see. That's why it was the game of the week. Two teams atop not only their division, atop the playoff standings, finding out who was going to be, for lack of a better phrase, king of the jungle yesterday between Detroit and Buffalo. And we saw that. In its totality, both teams stood up. And it was a dogfight till the end. Had that last onside kick gone the way of Detroit, that game could have went into overtime. Even with the injuries that have sustained Detroit, and I will get to them in just a moment. Before this time, we have to begin to truly recognize Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, and the Buffalo Bills are on a collision course, playing the way they are playing to go up against the two-time Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs one more time. What everybody wants to happen, unless you, of course, are a Kansas City fan, is you want the Bills to go into Arrowhead and do what they've been able to do during the regular season, but unfortunately have been unable to do in the postseason. And that is very simply beat Kansas City, beat the Chiefs. That is what everybody wants. Most people. For this conversation, we'll say 85% of the population. They want someone to knock off the two-time champs. And they want that somebody to be Josh Allen. Buffalo is far too talented to not succeed at this. It is going to be a lot of questions when these two teams, in my opinion, when they meet again. Because then we're going to find out this meta-human, as they call him, this alien, this mutant, this Superman, whatever nickname you want to give Josh Allen. It is a question of, but your kryptonite, that thing that ails you, that you just cannot get over, is beating the Kansas City Chiefs when it matters most. We shall see. Time will tell on that one. Now let's talk about the Detroit Lions. This is a team I've been telling y'all for 3 years now. Pay attention to the Detroit Lions. Because this was a team that was on the come up. Even those Detroit fans were like, we're not there yet. Not our time. And I'm like, no, y'all don't get it. Start to pay attention. And what has Detroit done this year? They have put themselves above everybody else in the NFC. That was up until yesterday. Now they are tied with Philadelphia with regards for the win-loss record. And should Minnesota be successful tonight against the Chicago Bears, another NFC North divisional opponent, it's going to be a three-horse race between Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Detroit for who will potentially and could ultimately get that number one seed. Now, here's what we do know. For Philadelphia, we're going into division play. Y'all realize the last game of the regular season where everybody plays somebody else within their division will be Detroit versus Minnesota, and that game is in Ford Field. So 2025 is going to start off with a bang because one of those two teams, if they win out, should they win out going into that last matchup, is going to come away with their third loss. So that's why I say as long as Philadelphia does their job, number one seed, by all accounts, should be Philadelphia's to win. You just got to get through divisional play. But for Detroit, everybody seems to be, and when I say everybody, I mean those who follow the game and follow the team but aren't those true fans, or those who don't begin to peel back the layers. Because let's think about this. Right now, Detroit has 12 defensive players who have sustained injuries. And these aren't just 12 defensive players who are a part of the 53-man roster. These are 12 players that when I say these names, y'all know who I'm talking about. I mean, of course, you start with the big man himself, Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, Alex Anzalone, Carlton Davis III, Derek Barnes, John Kaminsky, Aleem McNeil. These are the men who have made up that defense that has just taken teams apart week in and week out for the Detroit Lions. And then you flip it over to the offensive side, as we saw yesterday. And mind you, I want nothing but the best of speedy recovery for all of these gentlemen. And that also includes running back David Montgomery. Now, we know that these young men are out. Some have a timetable of potentially, but at this stage of the game, we are in December, 3 weeks left in the regular season. The postseason is upon us, pretty much. And Detroit not having these men on the field could prove to be detrimental to their success, to their ultimate goal, which is the goal of those 14 teams that are getting in, and also those teams in the hunt. But more importantly for Detroit, I think it becomes a question of, do they care? And what I mean by that is this. We have always talked about the next man up opportunity. We've always talked about playing all three phases of the game. So what I mean by that is, if the main thing is still the main thing, then Detroit realizes, okay, our brother over here won't be with us on the field. So it is up to us to finish the job that they started for us. And we roll this thing all the way to New Orleans. That, I feel, is what makes Detroit so dangerous. Because it isn't about the name on the back of the jersey. It is truly about the jersey that they wear and the emblem that is on their sleeves, on their helmets, and most importantly, to the fans in their heart. I'm going to take one more break, because when I come back, I got to tell y'all about a team that I truly feel is the true dark horse going into the postseason. Be back in a moment.
Pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey, Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra.
Welcome back into the Sports Radio Man, Eric Wilson. All right, so I've been mentioning about who I feel is the true dark horse going into the postseason. Now, I know last week I talked about the Los Angeles Rams because with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, along with Matthew Stafford, they're just getting healthy at the right time. And they are a team that, when at full strength, not really a team you want to see going into the playoffs. But I think we're neglecting or not paying attention to another team that, honestly, should they get in, which by all accounts, as we all say, if the playoffs started today, they would be in. I think they're going to surprise and possibly even shock some people. That is this team right here. Go Pack, go for the Green Bay Packers. Yes, I know they're 10-4 in a division where both the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions are conversely 12-2, 11-2. But by all accounts, looking at this, it looks like Minnesota will be picking up their 12th win. So you have two teams at 12-2, and then you've got the Green Bay Packers at 10-4. Which says three teams from the NFC North will be in the postseason this year. So now we have to ask the question, are the Green Bay Packers, led by Jordan Love, is this team, are they going to truly do what they sought out to do last year? Because, I mean, last season, we just looking at the playoffs on paper and the fact that Dallas had not lost a game in Jerry World all of last season until Green Bay went in there and said, yeah, we got something for y'all. And then it just seemed as though the lights were on, the stage was set, and Green Bay was a team that we were like, wait, wasn't this the kid that we didn't think was going to be able to make it in Jordan Love? And now they are on course to not only get back to the postseason, but actually make some noise. For those who aren't sleeping on Green Bay, congratulations. But again, I think most of you are up in Wisconsin. But for the rest of us, when you look at it, and let's take a moment to identify, if the playoffs were to start today, as we know, the Rams would take on the Minnesota Vikings. The Eagles would take on the Commanders for the third time. And the Bucs would take on the Green Bay Packers. Tampa is in their own world trying to figure out if it's going to be them, or is it going to be Atlanta, or is it maybe even going to be, well, no, New Orleans. Are they in the hunt? Not really. It's a two-dog race if you ask me. But clearly after what Tampa did to the Chargers and the fact that the Falcons, well, I mean, they're winning right now to the Raiders. So there's going to be the next 3 weeks very telling of where the NFC South, who's coming out of the NFC South, whether it be Tampa, whether it be Atlanta. But Green Bay, I mean, we look at them. We saw what they did last night to Seattle in Seattle. They have been finding ways to continually be successful, continually just win. So now, look at the rest of their schedule. All right. Green Bay's got the Saints, the Vikings in Minnesota, and then they finish up with the Bears. Arguably, 2 out of 3. But Minnesota, as we know, is vying for that spot. So Minnesota, that game, the Sunday after Christmas. If you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, let me just say this. Y'all have a lot that y'all have riding on this team led by Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson. I wish y'all the best. I truly do. But now we're talking about 2 playoff teams in Detroit and Green Bay who have to beat Minnesota in order to sustain where they are at. And we know Minnesota is not going quietly. So for Green Bay, I say this. Should they get in, they're going to be battle tested. Should they be successful against the NFC South opponent, whomever it may be, that next matchup, albeit against whomever, and Lord, please don't let it be against Philly, because I'm telling you right now, Green Bay coming to Philadelphia in January, this ain't Brazil. But it is an outdoor game in January, which could be a classic if you ask me. I'm not sleeping on any of these wild card teams. 1, because they're in my division, and 2, because I've seen what Green Bay is capable of, and I know for a fact what Minnesota can do. I think it's just a matter of how the chips will fall. And as time will tell, we will see. But don't be surprised if Green Bay shocks some people once the postseason happens, depending on where they're seated. I'm going to leave you with that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it for your man, Eric Wilson, for the Sports Arena. Thank you so much. I will see y'all next Monday night, 2 days before Christmas. And hopefully by that point, I'll be able to say the NFC East crown goes to that team in the 215. Much love to everybody. Stay blessed. Again, happy holidays, and I'll see you next week. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.